Welcome back to Exploring Places Unknown. I'm your host, Trey, and today I'm excited to introduce my guest, Miss Natalie Jurado. Natalie is the founder of Rooted In, a line of therapeutic magnesium-infused moisturizers designed to calm and relax your mood. With over 8 years in the wellness industry, she has become a sought-after thought leader, educator, and speaker. As an expert in all things magnesium, Natalie is on a mission to raise awareness about this powerful mineral and its benefit for those looking to live their most vibrant lives. Welcome to the show.
Thanks
Natalie.
so much for having me on. I appreciate it. And I'm excited to talk about my favorite topic in the world, magnesium.
Yeah, I know you're like really versed in this area of magnesium, and it's something I'm really curious about. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show. You know, just coming from my background as an athlete, trying to find different ways for recovery, better ways to fall asleep and things like that. So I'm really curious to hear what you have to say today. And so to kick things off, can you share what inspired you to create Rooted In and your passion for magnesium?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically, these things come about when we have a problem, right? We have a problem that we're dealing with and we come up with a solution, and then that changes the whole trajectory of your life, right? And that's exactly what happened to me. So about 10 years ago, I was really, really struggling. I was dealing with really bad anxiety. I was dealing with panic attacks. I couldn't sleep at night. And I was doing everything that they tell you you're supposed to do. Good, healthy, clean diet, organic fruits and veggies, exercising regularly, managing my stress, like all those boxes. I was checking all the boxes, but I still felt awful. So I took the next step. Everybody said, you need to go to the doctor. You got to talk to somebody about what you're going through. So I went to the doctor, and she was gracious enough to offer me every single test under the sun. Like, I felt like a human pincushion with the amount of blood that they took out of me for all those tests. And, so she was gracious enough to run all these tests. But then at the end of the day, she sits me down, she looks me straight in the face, and she says, Natalie, your blood work's perfect. There is nothing wrong with you. She's like, this is just a normal part of your aging process. And, basically like, get over it. This is going to be your life from here on out. And it was really frustrating because on one hand, I felt like, great, amazing. My blood works great. I'm healthy. But on the other hand, like, I still couldn't sleep. I still had panic attacks. The anxiety was controlling my entire life. And so it was the jumping off point for me to start really, really diving deep into nutrition and research and trying to find answers. I went to acupuncturists, chiropractors, nutritionists, dietitians. I saw all of the different, every single healthcare practitioner out there. And at the end of the day, they weren't able to help either. So I just kept searching and searching. And by turn of chance, I bumped into this older lady at a farmer's market. We start talking, and she tells me, hey, have you tried magnesium on your skin? At that point, I would have stood upside down on my head and said the alphabet backwards if you told me I would sleep at night again, right? Let me try it, right? And within a week, I went from sleeping 2 hours a night to sleeping 6 hours a night. My anxiety started to go away, and I didn't have a single panic attack. And I thought, what's going on? Why didn't my doctor talk to me about this? Why aren't people talking about this on the news? Like, why is magnesium not being brought up in conversations? And that's what really started my journey to really educate people on the power of this mineral.
Do you have a reason as to why you think it's not being brought up or talked about as much?
I feel like that's a loaded question. I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole, but no, that's a good question.
I'm just curious,
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, things like this always come down to money, right? Magnesium is not something that can be patented. It's a mineral that's present in our food. It's not a drug. It's not something that the pharmaceutical companies can really profit off of. So it's not something that's really brought up. It's such it's actually referred to as the invisible deficiency because it's just one of those things that people tend to ignore.
No, I've ignored it for sure. The only thing I've done was the topical stuff. And it's not something I've always reached for on the shelf. Maybe it's because I wasn't as informed about it, but I knew about my other electrolytes, like my potassium, my sodium. And so as we talked about earlier, there are 14 different types of magnesium as well?
Yeah, yeah. And that's another reason it can be overwhelming. You hear about magnesium on a podcast like today, or you see it on social media and you get excited about trying a new supplement. You run out to the health food store and there's this like giant wall of magnesium staring you right in the face. And that can be very overwhelming, especially when there's so many different types. You don't know which one to take. And then eventually you just give up. Or maybe you've tried magnesium and you've had some side effects and they're very uncomfortable. So it really can be overwhelming for the regular person to just go and buy something off the shelf.
When you started using magnesium, how fast did you start to see results?
Literally 1 week. It was, I mean,
Wow,
from Monday to Friday, I was a different human being. And that tends to happen when you're very deficient. So the more deficient you are in magnesium, the faster you're going to feel those effects. So for people who are
interesting.
dealing with those symptoms, it can be really revolutionary for them.
Does certain types of magnesium affect different things? Like you were struggling with sleep and anxiety. Was there a specific one that you used at that time?
So this is where people kind of get into the details and can feel overwhelmed. At the end of the day, magnesium is going to help with everything, right? So magnesium in and of itself is present in every single one of our trillions of cells. It powers 700 different reactions in our body. So if you think about that, there's 700 things that happen in your body that will not work without magnesium. And despite that, we see that 70% of the population is not getting enough magnesium every single day. So that's 7 out of 10 people who are
Wow.
just deficient, right? They're just
Yeah.
struggling. They're not powering all of those reactions that they need. So the minute you get any kind of magnesium, your body's going to be really happy about that, right? Like any form of magnesium is going to be helpful. The different types are not necessarily different types of magnesium. What they are is different partners for magnesium. So, for instance, a really popular form of magnesium is magnesium glycinate. That's magnesium who's partnered up or chelated with glycine. Glycine is naturally relaxing. Glycine is something that can kind of make you sleepy when you take it by yourself. So, when you take magnesium glycinate, you're getting the incredible power of magnesium plus a little sleepiness boost. So, that's why people like to take that at nighttime. But the magnesium in and of itself is going to do the same thing no matter what supplement you take. It's just the partner that gives you some additional extra benefits on top of that.
So you said magnesium oxate is the most, is that the most common one?
Yeah, magnesium oxide tends to be the most,
Oxide.
yeah, that one's the most commonly recommended by healthcare practitioners. It's the most common one that you're going to see on the shelf of like your local pharmacies, and it happens to be the cheapest form out there. Unfortunately, that oxide that's partnered up with that magnesium doesn't really do a good job of getting that magnesium into your body. So we find that when people take magnesium oxide, they only absorb about 4% of the magnesium in that supplement, meaning the other 96% kind of go right through your body. And for most people, that means it's going to go out through your digestive tract and have you in the bathroom for a good portion of the day. So oxide is not good for raising your magnesium levels. It is good if you deal with, gut issues like constipation, that type of thing, but it's not very good at raising your levels. And unfortunately, that's what most people take. So we hear so often people say, "Oh, I tried magnesium, but it gave me tummy issues. And, I really didn't feel any different." Well, it's because it's not a really good form of magnesium.
So what's the best one?
Great question, right? So there are good forms and there are less than good forms, right? So that oxide is one that we generally don't recommend. Another one is magnesium carbonate. Magnesium carbonate is a good antacid, like it has great antacid properties, but again, it doesn't really absorb well into your system. Forms that do a really good job are that magnesium glycinate that I mentioned earlier. That's typically taken if you have a hard time sleeping. Another form that's great is magnesium malate. And magnesium malate is particularly effective for muscle pain and fatigue. Magnesium threonate has become incredibly popular over the past couple of
Hmm.
years. That form is good for brain health, memory issues, brain fog. However, threonate tends to come in very low doses, so you have to take a lot of it, and it's incredibly expensive. So generally speaking, for most people, it can be out of their price range. And then magnesium taurate, that form's great for heart health. Magnesium taurate is magnesium bound to taurine, and taurine is just very cardioprotective, so it gives you that extra benefit. So those are a few forms that are just, and those are all oral forms of magnesium. So you'll get them as a pill or powder, a gummy, that type of thing. And then the other side is topical magnesium, and that's my personal favorite. That's magnesium that goes right on your skin.
So to circle back to the sleep thing, because I struggle with sleep a little bit, what is it exactly doing to help you go to sleep?
Yeah. So magnesium, how it supports your sleep cycles, it does it in three different ways. The first, it's going to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, and that's your rest, unwind, relax kind of system. So we have sympathetic, which is go, 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 get your stuff done. We need that during the day so we can complete our tasks. But we need to switch out of sympathetic mode into parasympathetic mode so that we can rest, relax, and recover. Unfortunately, in today's society, oftentimes we get stuck in that sympathetic mode. And at nighttime, we put our head on the pillow and our brain clicks into overdrive and just starts spiraling.
Yeah.
Your body feels energized and just can't fall asleep. So magnesium helps activate that rest and relax system. It also lowers your cortisol. So cortisol is our stress hormone. So that cortisol needs to be nice and high in the morning to help get us out of bed, but it needs to be nice and low in the evening to allow us to relax. And so if our cortisol is imbalanced, we hear a lot of the term like cortisol imbalance. If that's out of balance, then it's going to be really hard to sleep at night. And then lastly, magnesium binds to GABA. And GABA is a neurotransmitter that's responsible for calming the brain down. So we need
Wow.
going at nighttime. So when we have all three of them, it's a powerful way of helping you fall asleep.
Wow. Yeah, this is actually a secret weapon. I think we talked about that earlier, like for transforming your life. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because I feel like you're an expert in this area and not a lot of people have knowledge of it or a deeper understanding of it. Do you think that it's possible to be so deficient in it that it could be fatal? Is that possible?
Yep, it powers every.
Really?
Yeah, it powers all of your cells. And so when you don't get enough magnesium, well, one of the main things that happens is your heart stops functioning. So when somebody has a heart attack, the very first medication that they give you in the hospital is magnesium. And there's a really important reason for that. So magnesium helps relax your muscles, right? And calcium helps tighten your muscles. So when your heart is beating, it's this beautiful dance between calcium and magnesium going back and forth, right? Unfortunately, in our modern day diet, we get so much calcium. We get so much dairy and milk. We get calcium now as our bread is enriched with calcium. Our orange juice is enriched with
Yeah.
calcium, right? Unfortunately, magnesium is not present in the standard American diet the way that it should be. So all that calcium, not enough magnesium, and we're going to get that tight heart that needs to relax. So that's why it's often given as the first line of defense when you have a heart attack. You'll also notice that you'll get leg cramps if you're low in magnesium. Those legs, where like your calves will seize up, your toes will cramp up in the middle of the night. That's too much calcium, not enough magnesium. So absolutely, it could totally be fatal if you don't get enough.
I can speak to it from the emergency medicine side because that's my field. The times that I use we use what's called magnesium sulfate, and we'll nebulize that treatment if they're having a really severe asthmatic attack, and it relaxes them. So it helps them breathe. We also use magnesium sulfate for eclampsia. If a pregnant female, if she starts seizing or something like that, that helps. And we also use it for dysarrhythmias. Well, it's a very rare cardiac rhythm, but it's called torsades de pointe. That's the name of it. It's a very irregular heart rhythm, and we use magnesium for that. So it's a very powerful mineral.
Really is. And it's because it relaxes those muscles. Like particularly when you said asthma, it's that those lungs they're seizing up. We need to relax them. We need the airway to open up some. So magnesium sulfate is actually Epsom salt. The stuff that you get at the dollar store for like $1.25, you can get yourself a nice bag of Epsom salt. That's magnesium sulfate. And so, one quick and easy way to get magnesium tonight, like if any of your listeners are listening right now and they're like, I need to try some magnesium, is to simply go to the store, get yourself a bag of Epsom salts and soak in that for 20 minutes. Literally take 2 cups of Epsom salt, throw it in the tub, soak with warm water. It should be warm because warm water helps open up your pores. Hot water is going to make you sweat, and we don't want that. We want that magnesium to get absorbed. So soaking in that Epsom salt and that magnesium sulfate for 20 minutes can really help boost those levels pretty quickly.
For my nighttime routine, at least twice a week, I do the foot bath. And I don't care if anybody judges me, but I'm an athlete. I run a lot, so whatever. But I do that. That's part of my routine. What are some of the common signs that you notice that someone would be deficient in magnesium?
Sure. So we're going to get those leg cramps. We'll get restless legs. A lot of times is linked to low magnesium. You'll get chronic headaches and migraines. You'll have a hard time sleeping, anxiety, high cholesterol is linked to low magnesium. High blood pressure is linked to low magnesium. Diabetes and blood sugar imbalance, all linked to low magnesium. So when we talk about like just that underlying invisible that deficiency that gets overlooked. I mean,
Yeah.
it powers so many different systems. So we really, really do need it to function at our best.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Didn't you? So I want to touch on the ATP side of it because you said something last time we talked that was like, it just blew my mind. And so, what does magnesium do with ATP and mitochondria?
Yeah, so magnesium is involved in creating ATP. So it helps create energy in the cells. Now, most people are probably thinking, wait a second, lady, you said it helped you fall asleep. Now you're telling me it helps with energy. What's going on here, right? Like it sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not. So magnesium, like I said before, it's involved in 700 different processes. It's like trying to drive a car without gas. Without gas, your car's not going to run. It's not going to stop. It's not going to move. It's not going to do anything, right? So magnesium helps put our body into balance. It gives us energy throughout the day. It helps us fall asleep at nighttime because that's the way your body is supposed to function. We're
Right.
supposed to have energy. We're supposed to be able to sleep. That's a healthy functioning body. Magnesium helps reset your body, make it healthy and functioning again, and make it function the way it's supposed to.
Have you found just from your time with dealing with magnesium, are certain groups of people at risk of mag deficiency?
Absolutely. Of course, it's easy for me to say everybody, everybody needs magnesium, but we do see certain populations that are higher at risk. So that's typically the elderly. We see it happen a lot in the elderly population. We also see it in teenagers. So teenagers in particular, children especially, really need magnesium. And it's a segment of the population that's really being overlooked. So when we think about it, how many, and I'm a mom of two teenagers myself, getting them to eat those leafy greens, getting them to eat those veggies that are jam packed with magnesium is not always easy. They'd rather have pizza and chicken nuggets and French fries. And the same thing goes for small children. They need that magnesium. And most of them are not eating the foods that are high and rich in magnesium. So those foods are your green leafy vegetables, your nuts, your seeds, your chia seeds, your pumpkin seeds. Those type of foods tend to carry more magnesium.
So, what's your strategy on getting them to take magnesium?
So, of course, if your children are little, like we're talking your toddlers, 4 or 5, when they're small, doing those Epsom salt baths can be so helpful. Most of the time when they're little like that, they enjoy playing in
Got
the
it.
tub.
Yeah.
Easy way to get more magnesium. Do it 2 to 3 times a week and see how well your child sleeps. You'll see that they're a lot less hyper, they're a lot less irritable. And then for those teenagers, just really having those conversations, like talking about the value of those green leafy vegetables, especially if you have a child who's an athlete, they want to improve their performance, really kind of getting them to eat those foods, having them use it topically. You can use it as a cream, a spray, a gel right on your muscles. And of course, supplementing when necessary.
So, do you agree that the fastest way is to be absorbed? Is that the best way or
Yeah, so there was
ingested?
there was a landmark study done, and I want to say it was 2010. And they found that using 500 milligrams of magnesium chloride on your skin twice a day was able to raise participants' levels by close to 60% in about 12 weeks. To get that same growth using a pill or a powder would take 9 to 24 months. So we're seeing that topical is a great way to boost those levels very, very quickly, as opposed to taking a pill or a powder. The studies also show that digesting magnesium in the form of a pill or a powder, you typically will only absorb 30 to 50% of that. So the other 50% kind of goes through our digestive tract and goes out the other end. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't take a supplement because I'm a big believer in doing both, but I do believe that they each, both the topical and the oral magnesium, both can be very, very helpful.
So, on the flip side of being deficient, is there a way to tell if you're consuming too much?
Absolutely. Your body has a built-in safety mechanism, right? Our body really does a great job of protecting ourselves. So if you take in too much, and this is digestive. So if you take in too much oral magnesium, your body is going to process the excess through your kidneys. It'll process it through your digestive tract, and you're going to basically pee and poop it out. That's why when people say, oh, I tried magnesium, but kind of bothered my stomach, it's because you took too much all at once, and your body got rid of the part that you cannot use. So yes, it's uncomfortable, unpleasant. You will be in the bathroom for quite a little while. Will be quite cleaned out, but it's not going to do any long-term harm, with the exception of people who have kidney issues. So if your kidneys are not functioning, they're not able to get rid of excess magnesium. So you need to be careful with supplementing with magnesium if you have kidney issues.
So if I did the topical application, there's no limit to that,
Yeah,
essentially?
yeah, our skin does an incredible job of regulating how much magnesium we get through our skin. And I'll give you a great example. So the ocean. So I live in Florida. We've got beaches everywhere. The ocean is 35% magnesium chloride. It's made up of quite a bit of magnesium chloride. So that's why when we go to the beach, we feel very relaxed. Most of the time we sleep so hard, those muscle cramps go away, we heal very quickly. It's because we're getting this huge dose of magnesium. Nobody in the history of time has ever said, you need to get out of the ocean. You're getting too much
Yeah.
magnesium, right? So
Right.
yeah, our skin will do a great job of regulating that magnesium.
And so with Be Rooted In, it's more, can you speak on that for the audience? Is that more of a topical supplement that you use?
Yep. So I took that same magnesium that we find in the ocean, that same magnesium that was involved in that landmark 2010 study, and I infused that into our creams so that you would have an easy way to really boost those magnesium levels without having to worry about which type to take, without having to worry about, having stomach issues or anything like that. And we based it off of that study. So every teaspoon in our creams contains that same 500 milligrams of magnesium. So it's a great way to boost those levels without having to worry about any kind of side effect.
Is there anything or such thing as a magnesium soap or anything that you've heard of?
No, because typically magnesium takes about 20 minutes to fully absorb through your skin. So if we were using a soap, we'd wind up rinsing it right off. So you can use it as a spray. A lot of people use it as a cream. People use it as a gel or doing those magnesium baths. So you can do either Epsom salt baths or magnesium chloride baths.
Yeah, I think I'm going to leave and go buy me some magnesium after this. Like, I really want to dial in my recovery. And so my next question is performance, kind of speaking to the athletes out there. What does your product offer that may be different from other people on the market?
Absolutely. So our product has twice the amount of magnesium as a leading brand. Our brand was founded by a magnesium researcher. I'm not into cosmetics or beauty, that kind of thing. Our products are solely based on their therapeutic value. So we wanted to make sure that they had an adequate amount of magnesium. It took us 2 years working with 6 different chemists from all around the world to create a cream that is this potent. So you really, really get a good therapeutic value with our product. Also, we've also added these beautiful, incredible herbs, namely our relief formula. That's our best seller. And our relief formula has that amazing magnesium, plus arnica and white willow bark, ginger and comfrey. Those are all herbs that have been used thousands of years for aches and pains, muscle soreness, and cramping. So we find that especially our athletes really, really enjoy the relief cream because it really helps with that muscle recovery post-workout and helps prevent that soreness the next day. So, and then of course we only package in glass. One warning, if you are going to buy a topical magnesium product, even if it's not mine, wherever you find your topical magnesium, it must be sold to you in glass. Magnesium chloride will degrade plastic and pull all those microplastics and nasty chemicals right into your product that you later wind up putting on your skin. So please look out for glass containers when you purchase anything with magnesium in it.
So I know you mentioned that a really good sign of deficiency in magnesium is high cholesterol. So is there anything else? So you said it wouldn't really show up in blood work per se?
Yeah, that is the problem, right? Because oftentimes we go to our doctors and we say, hey, doc, I think I'm low in magnesium. I need you to run a test. Let me know if I'm deficient. And so they do a magnesium serum test because that's what's typically covered by insurance. It's called magnesium serum test. They draw the blood, they check your blood, and voila, they tell you you're perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with you. Unfortunately, magnesium is not really stored in our blood. About 60% of your body's total magnesium is stored in your bones, the other 40% in your muscles, tissues, and organs, leaving less than 1% in our blood. So if our blood shows we're perfectly fine, well, yeah, of course, it's only 1% of what's actually happening in our body. And as we all know, the blood wants to maintain that homeostasis, wants to maintain balance. So it's going to pull from your muscles, tissues, organs, and bones in order to make up for any deficits. So you could be chronically deficient for years before it ever shows up in your blood. The National Institute of Health has actually said that the best way to determine magnesium deficiency is to simply go based off of your symptoms. So if you are dealing with the cramping, the anxiety, the lack of sleep, the chronic headaches, if you're dealing with all those symptoms and then you start taking magnesium and those symptoms go away, well, you just diagnose yourself with magnesium deficiency.
And magnesium is like vital for muscle contraction as well.
Absolutely. It's vital for muscle contractions. And like you said, cholesterol. Very little known fact about magnesium and cholesterol is that magnesium limits the activity of a certain enzyme. It's the HMG-CoA reductase enzyme. And basically, it's like a shutoff switch for cholesterol. So when
Whoa.
you don't have enough magnesium, that switch can't be shut off and your body continues to create cholesterol. So people often think that cholesterol is due to, poor diet. Oh, I need to cut back on my eggs and my oils and fats. But only 15% of your body's cholesterol comes from your diet. The other 85% is created by your liver. And it's created because that enzyme is not shutting off and working properly. But when we have enough magnesium, that enzyme really works on that on-off switch and helps your body regulate cholesterol properly.
Does magnesium help with cravings, food cravings? Does it?
Yeah. So if you are
Really?
a lady and you crave chocolate all the time, especially right before your cycle, as many women do, it is more than likely a magnesium deficiency because dark chocolate is incredibly high in magnesium. So if you're constantly craving chocolate, it's because your body really needs that magnesium. And right as we go into our cycle, our magnesium demands increase to prepare for our cycle, which is why we're craving more and more of that chocolate. The amount of times I've met people who say, I no longer crave chocolate because I started taking magnesium is amazing. Same thing goes for alcohol. Since magnesium helps so much with our mental health, it helps with that anxiety. It helps with that stress. It helps with that serotonin production. Oftentimes we've had a hard day at work. Our serotonin levels are plummeted because we're so stressed out. We reach for that bottle of alcohol so we can get that serotonin and dopamine hit. But if you've got plenty of magnesium, you find that you're not craving that alcohol quite as much because you're able to regulate your stress much more efficiently.
That's awesome. Does magnesium help with chronic pain? Because I know there's a lot of people use the cannabis. What is it?
CBD?
CBD. So a lot of people use CBD. It was there. Does it help with pain, chronic pain like that?
Yeah, magnesium is an incredibly powerful anti-inflammatory. So much of our
Interesting.
pain is driven by inflammation. And there was a study done, I want to say it was in 2017. They actually tested people's CRP levels. So they found people with
Hmm.
incredibly high CRP, and that's our marker for inflammation. So they tested their CRP levels and they found that after supplementing with magnesium, the CRP levels dropped dramatically in patients. So they've linked that low magnesium to that high inflammation.
So for yourself, when you apply the topical cream, how often are you doing that each day? Do you do it all day or is it just one and done?
So it depends on who you are, what you need, and how much you need. I am a high type A, high stress, high anxiety human being. So I need more magnesium than most people. So I typically will apply our stress formula called Tranquility. I apply that every morning because mornings are just really stressful for me. So after a shower, I apply that, go about my day. At nighttime, I apply again before I go to bed because it helps me sleep at night. And then after a workout, depending on if it's like a heavy weight day, I'll apply after a workout to help with that muscle recovery. So for me, I typically apply at least twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, but many people only need it, they're not as high strung as I am, so they don't quite need as much. Another thing to consider is not necessarily how much magnesium we're getting, but also how much magnesium we're burning through. And we call that the magnesium burn rate. So
Whoa.
magnesium, it's a mineral, right? And it's not something our body produces. We have to get it from an outside source. So it's kind of like protein. You use up your protein, right? And you got to restock it every single day. We have to do the same with magnesium. And some of the
Wow.
ways that we use up that magnesium is eating sugar. So for every 1 molecule of sugar that you consume, it takes 54 molecules of magnesium to balance that out. So if you are eating a high sugar diet, your magnesium demands are going to go right through the roof. You're going to burn through your magnesium very quickly. And we see this around the holidays. Halloween comes, then Thanksgiving, then Christmas, and we've eaten way more sugar than our body is used to. We find that we can't sleep at night, that we're irritable, that we might start getting leg cramps or restless feelings. We might get our eye twitching now. And it's all because your body is screaming out for more magnesium. So that sugar can really make a difference.
I think you just like put some pieces to the puzzle for my life. For instance, let's say I go run 6 or 7 miles. Well, I've just burned through all the magnesium I had, and I don't think I have any products in my house that give me the magnesium. So I'm irritable, I'm moody,
You might
not
have leg
sleeping as
cramps.
well,
Yeah, absolutely.
cramps.
And
Wow.
unfortunately, most of those electrolyte drinks, like your Gatorades, your Powerades, all those electrolyte drinks don't have magnesium in it. And for the very
Mm-mm.
few that do, they have magnesium oxide in it. So it's not really helping you much. So you got to make sure to replenish that magnesium, especially the more we sweat, the more we burn through that magnesium, the more we have to replenish afterwards.
So I want to circle back to your website, Be Rooted In. When did you get the inspiration to start that website?
Yeah. So we started about 4 years ago. So it was 2021. We started in 2019, but it took 2 years to really get our formula down pat. So we didn't launch until 2021. But we launched in 2021. And at first it was like, what are you talking about, magnesium on your skin? But people started using it. They started sharing it with their friends, and it just kept going and going, went viral a bunch of times on social media. We've grown really, really quickly, and it's grown mostly through word of mouth. So it wasn't until this year that we started putting money into advertising, and even then, it's not much. It really has been from word of mouth. So when people purchase our cream, about 60% of them come back and purchase again within 3 weeks. So it's amazing how quickly it's kind of spread, and it's been really, really rewarding.
So the timeline for people to really see results is usually a week, usually.
Yeah, it's very, very
Okay.
immediately. We have, especially with sleep in particular, I have people that reach out that tell me they've had, horrible sleep, insomnia for years and years and years. And the very first night they use our creams, they've got that 8 hours of sleep.
Nice. What's your bestseller?
Our best sellers are Relief Cream, which is our pain formula. And I think it really speaks to the amount of people who've normalized pain. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just my
Mm.
age and the people that I know, because the amount of people that are like, well, I'm old. That's why my back hurts all the time. Or they get, you hear when people sit down in their chair, they go, or they get up, they make
Hmm.
noise. It's pain has become normalized in our society. You shouldn't be in pain like that all the time.
Yeah.
So I think our relief cream really speaks to the amount of pain that people are in nowadays.
And which one focuses on the sleep? Because that's the one I'm gonna buy.
The rest cream. This cream is it's that magnesium plus passion flower, chamomile, lavender, clary sage, lang lang. So all these beautiful herbs that support a restful, deep sleep. I always recommend people, if you have an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, to start tracking your sleep and then try the rest cream and see the difference on your fitness tracker. It's amazing how much better sleep you'll get after it.
Have you found any magnesium teas?
No,
Herbal teas? Is that a thing?
yeah, no, because it's not found in herbs. Generally speaking, it's not found enough
Okay.
teas. Although I love me some herbal teas. I'm a big tea drinker, so I drink tea all day long. I'm actually drinking tea in my water bottle right now.
Yeah. I love what you're doing with the website. Is it on Amazon yet?
Yep, we're on Amazon. We launched on Amazon this year, so and we're on Amazon. We're on TikTok Shop, and then we're on our website as well.
And I want to kind of touch on the American diet. We're getting food and it's not filled with magnesium. So, what are some easy meals that you kind of go to that are magnesium rich?
I'm a big fan of smoothies. So throw that handful of spinach in there, so you're getting some magnesium from the spinach. Throw some chia seeds in there, or pumpkin seeds, or almonds. Get some coconut water. Coconut water is a beautiful source of
Mm,
potassium and magnesium. Those are kind of best friends, potassium and magnesium. So get all that in that smoothie. It's a great way to really boost those levels. I'm a big fan of food as medicine. At the end of the day,
yeah.
you can't eat pizza, hot dogs, hamburgers all day long and then pop a magnesium supplement and expect that to fix all your problems. Diet always, always, always needs to come first before you ever supplement with anything. That being said, it is pretty difficult to get all of your magnesium needs from food alone. So for reference, The RDA, the recommended amount of magnesium that we're supposed to be getting, is 350 to 400 milligrams a day. However, just last month, they started, there's some new research coming out that it's probably closer to 500 milligrams a day that we need. So we might see the RDA change in the future. But for now, let's just go with 350 to 400 milligrams. In order to get that much from food alone, you would have to eat
Yeah,
2 cups of pumpkin seeds. You would have to eat 10 cups of spinach, raw spinach. You'd have to eat 10 bananas. So, like, it's a lot of food. I love
that's
spinach,
a
but
lot.
not doing that much, you know? So it is difficult to get enough from food alone.
You ever heard the saying by Socrates, let thy food be thy medicine, or
Yeah,
let your food be thy medicine? That is so true.
it
I
is.
think the smoothies, I might start doing that. It's just easier for me. But I was just curious, like, what are some quick meals to do that? So I guess smoothies might be the best way.
Absolutely. Salads are always great because you're getting all those leafy greens. You can usually throw some nuts on top of that as well. Another caution, though, when it comes to magnesium is making sure that we are getting it away from calcium. So while magnesium and calcium work
Okay.
together in the body, they work together. They're friends. You need them both to work together in the body. The other side of that is that they will really block absorption. So, and I'm specifically not necessarily in food because in food, you're not getting a mega dose of both of them. But when it comes to supplements, you should not take the calcium and the magnesium within 2 hours of each other because it's a giant mega dose and it's taking up all of the receptors on the cell and they're both fighting for that space on your cell.
Wow.
And calcium fight together, magnesium and iron will fight together as well. Magnesium will block the absorption of iron. So if you're anemic and you're popping iron every single day, give it at least 2 hours before you take that magnesium.
Wow. For your creams, what's the milligram dosage for your creams?
Yeah,
Or are they different for each one?
yeah, all of our creams have the exact same amount of magnesium, so you're good to take any one of them. And they each have 500 milligrams of magnesium chloride per teaspoon. So the topical amount that our body demands has not been researched enough. Like we don't have enough research behind that, other than the study showing that that 500 milligrams used twice a day was able to raise participants' levels by about 60%. So we have that, but we don't have like an RDA for topical magnesium as of yet.
Have you seen any research on magnesium reversing disease by any chance, like diabetes or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, there are lots of research studies showing how magnesium plays a role in countless diseases, cholesterol, diabetes, all these different diseases. However, they're correlational, right? So we see the correlation. There's no causal studies out there. So we know that when you're low in magnesium, you tend to, have more, or we know that people with diabetes have notoriously low magnesium levels. We know that children with ADHD have notoriously low magnesium levels. But we can't say that magnesium is going to solve your ADHD because we don't have that kind of research. So we see a lot of correlational studies. I'll tell you in my own life with family and friends, I see cholesterol go down like within 3 months. Both of
Wow.
my parents were really kind of teetering on that high cholesterol. Doctors wanted to put them on statins. And I said, give me 3 months. Give me 3 months. I can fix this for you. And literally by the time they went in for their 3 month follow-up, cholesterol was perfectly normal. Triglycerides, perfectly normal. I know in my own life, I'm seeing really, really great uses, but we can't say that magnesium cures anything. And of course, everything I'm saying is no substitute, not a substitute for medical advice. Let me just throw that in there
Absolutely.
while we're at it. But the fact is, magnesium has very little to no side effects. It's generally recognized as safe for all people outside of people with kidney issues. So why not give it a try and see how you feel?
And that's whether you take it orally or topically, you're
Yeah.
still getting that lower cholesterol.
Yeah, absolutely. You're still boosting that magnesium to your cells and starting to feel that difference. So, however you want to get magnesium into your system, whether you're going to eat 10 cups of raw spinach, if you're going to soak in a magnesium bath, or if you're going to pop, a bunch of magnesium glycinate, just get it into your body and see the difference it can make.
And so what's your hope for the world to have with your view on magnesium? Like, what are you hoping changes? Because obviously you're very invested in it and it's changed your life. So like, what would you want the world to see differently about magnesium?
Yeah, I would love, love, love for people to start making magnesium that first line of defense. So, like,
Mm,
for instance, the example that I had with my parents, they both were told, your cholesterol's getting high. We need to put you on these drugs. Why is it that drugs are the first line of defense? Why isn't it diet, lifestyle, movement, sun, get some sunlight on your skin
Yeah.
and work on getting your minerals the way that they're supposed to. Like, I feel like that should always be the first thing we do when we're pre-diabetic, when our cholesterol is high, when we're dealing with, ADHD and some of these other, why can't we try natural first? So if this encourages anybody to just, really dive in deeper into more natural remedies, I feel like then I've accomplished something.
Does magnesium, and this is kind of off topic, but does magnesium help with sexual wellness at all that you found?
So it can help with, like, if you're dealing with, for instance, like if you have high cholesterol, if you have particularly high blood pressure, your blood's not flowing the way it's supposed to. So we see, when it comes to especially men's sexual health, when that blood pressure gets normalized, then we see that things start working the way that they're supposed to. So because magnesium plays such an incredible role in lowering that blood pressure, dilating those vessels so that the blood pressure comes down, we see better blood flow. With women, it plays such a vital part in hormone regulation. So magnesium is involved in, creating estrogen and progesterone and creating, balancing our thyroid. So we find that women do really, really well with magnesium, particularly women in perimenopause and menopause. The 34 symptoms
Wow.
that are associated with menopause are the same 34 symptoms that are associated with magnesium deficiency. And I find that that's not a coincidence at all.
Wow. And there hasn't been any studies on like magnesium and dementia or anything like that yet?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yes, there has been.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, those are great, great questions. There has been studies on magnesium and Alzheimer's, magnesium, and they find that people with Alzheimer's, people with dementia, and some of these later stage issues that come up, that they are significantly low in magnesium. And they find that when we get older, for those of us who, when we age, our magnesium levels are higher, our magnesium levels are within range, there is a significant decrease in the rate of dementia and Alzheimer's and some other disorders. So, obviously it's correlative. We can't say it causes this or causes that, but we can say that people do a lot better when their magnesium levels are in check.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, it truly is a secret weapon. It's really overlooked. Like mag is not something I focused on a lot, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
I can promise you that.
Another really important role of magnesium is its connection to vitamin D. So oftentimes, especially as we get older, we see in women in perimenopause and menopause, and even men, we see that their vitamin D levels really, really start crashing as we age. And oftentimes we see other issues associated with that, like osteoporosis, we see bone loss, we see all these issues happen. And we're told to either take calcium or just take vitamin D, and then they send you on your way. And then your levels never get better. And there's an important reason why. When you take vitamin D, you're taking it in its inactive form when you need magnesium to activate vitamin D. So you can take all
Whoa.
the vitamin D in the world. It's not going to do anything unless you have that magnesium, as well as K2. K2 is another vitamin that needs to be taken alongside of vitamin D as well. But that magnesium plays a really important role.
Wow. I feel like you have like so much information on this. Is there anything else like just the vitamin D being activated without the magnesium? Is there anything else in our body that we need magnesium for that to happen?
Vitamin D is the biggest one, because we see as a society, we don't go outside enough. And, in order to get vitamin D, you need sunlight on your skin or you need to take it as, a supplement. So vitamin D is definitely one of the bigger ones. Magnesium plays a role in calcium. So if you're dealing with osteoporosis, they often say, go ahead, take some calcium. That's going to fix all your bones. Everything's going to be fine. The problem is when you take calcium, it doesn't know where to go. I like to compare magnesium to the bus, right? So when you take calcium, it's just going to get dispersed throughout your entire body. Some of it might wind up in your bones, but a lot of it's going to wind up in your kidneys and cause kidney stones. It can wind up, in your heart and cause all sorts of issues, calcifications throughout your body. When you take magnesium, when you have adequate magnesium in your system, that magnesium is going to be like the bus and take that calcium and put it into your bones where it belongs.
So I'm going to go to Amazon.com and I'm going to type in your product. So you recommend the Tranquility? That's for the sleep.
The rest is for the sleep. Yeah, the tranquility is really
Okay.
good if you deal with anxiety, if you deal with nervousness, overwhelm, or if you feel like you have a lot of fatigue during the day. The tranquility can really, really help.
So I'm going to get all of that. Um, what are some ways people can contact you or reach out to you?
Absolutely. So I can be reached at Be Rooted In. So, Be Rooted In on our website, at Be Rooted In on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. All of our socials are Be Rooted In. So, and I respond to any messages. So if you have a question, if you're like, oh, I want more clarification, send me a message. You'll get me. I'll be the one to respond. But I love, love, love answering questions. I'm happy to be a resource for people out there. We've got lots of guides and cheat sheets and lots of really great free resources as well.
Yeah, that was my next question was like the cheat sheets. I think I need something like that just to know how to differentiate between the different types of magnesium. So, because there's so many, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like what, 14 or 20 or something like that?
There's over 14. We're getting new ones come through every day. It's because they're taking magnesium and binding it to other elements out there. So, but there's over 14. I have a cheat sheet that has 11 of the most popular forms and which ones you should take, which ones you should take for different issues. If sleep is the issue or fatigue is the issue, that type of thing. And you can just kind of go through that list, take it with you on Amazon when you go to purchase your supplements.
Okay. Well, Natalie, I think that about wraps up our episode. This has been very informative for me, and I'm sure the listeners as well. And, thank you for actually going deep into this topic. I think it's much needed. It's a secret weapon that people are missing in their everyday lives. So yeah, I'm going to buy some stuff from you, and thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you for what you're doing to really use your platform to spread awareness about health and wellness. It's an amazing thing that we all need more of.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I do this is to learn more. There's things I'm missing in my life, and to just spread that word around that, hey, maybe you should try this or try that. And so I think we're all on the same path, focusing on the same goals of mental wellness, health, and I'm not going to say stress-free life. There'll always be stress, but how to better manage it.
Absolutely.
And so thank you again, Natalie, for coming on Exploring Places Unknown. And for my listeners, I hope you guys check out her website at berootedin.com. And also I'll link her information in the description, Amazon, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Bye-bye.